number 6 in my occasional series of videos where I talk about music that has some significance in my life. So, I've already visited the extremes of prog rock and traditional folk music, so where do we go next? Well, I think we go straight down the middle. From the early 60s onwards, it was a routine, it was a regular thing. You had to watch Top of the Pops. You had to gather in front of the TV. I think it was a Thursday evening, usually, and we would watch the progress of our favourite bands as they went up or down the charts. It was quite an important thing. It was something that very few people of our age didn't do. So I was still interested in pop music, and there was a lot of pop music of all sorts of varieties going on. Particularly, well, yeah, sort of mid-60s to mid-70s. There were lots and lots of new directions that pop music went into. So instead of just rock and roll and the ballads that we used to have in the early 60s, you'd get psychedelic music, you'd get reggae, you'd get soul music, you'd get some quite rocky things as well. But the other thing going on from this, it's like during the early to mid-70s, when I was a student in Manchester, there was the opportunity to see a lot of these acts performing live. And I loved that. And I'm going to play you a track by a band that I saw play live in Manchester University Students' Union, which would probably hold maybe 400 people. So this is a band that had many singles in the charts, hit number 1 on at least one occasion, probably more than that. Yet they would play in a venue that size. These days, yeah, it doesn't seem to take an awful lot, and you're into the mega venues, the arenas, the places where there's 10,000 people paying a fortune to see you. But then back then, as a student, I could afford to go to the Student Union and watch this band up on stage. I could get so close to the stage, I could see their fingers moving on the guitars. And, you know, this particular band is a band that a version of is still playing today. How many years later? 50, nearly 50 years later. And I will see them this summer at a festival in Oxfordshire. So, which band am I talking about? Well, let's play the track and see if you recognise it. You got the answer yet? If you didn't know, this is a band called 10cc. 10cc are probably most famous for a song they did called I'm Not In Love. They were rocky at times, but they could also be very, very clever, very subtle, very imaginative. There was some great stuff that they did, and I was a real fan of intelligent pop music with a rocky edge when need be. So, there we go. This is a band I saw in a small hall, and I got really close to them at their height. This, I think, was either their current single or was just about to be released. I can't remember exactly. But you know, the Students' Union Hall. Later this year, I'm going to see one of my favourite artists in an arena. And I'll need to take binoculars because I'll be so far back. It'll just be a speck on the stage in the distance. Or something on a screen beside the stage, which seems like second-hand experience, really. I love music when you can get close to it, when you can get right up close to it. I love live music. doesn't matter what kind of live music. To a large extent, I have seen everything from trad jazz up to things which are just post-punk. I've seen acts that are really, really subtle, just acoustic guitar and voice, or even less than that, right up to the sort of loudness that you could still hear 3 days later. I remember going to see Kevin Ayers, he was like that. And I'm amazed that the walls didn't fall down on that occasion. So, there you go. Music, live. I love it. That's all for now. Thank you. Bye-bye.